Mini Trucking Monday, Motivated Monday, Motivated Mini Trucker, Motivated Mini Trucking Mondays. And what I mean by that is, I guess, I'm a motivated mini trucker. Been out of that scene for a while, but the reason I'd say I'm motivated right now, we built that 2022 Maverick. It did really well. I've enjoyed that truck a lot, and it's on the cover of Street Trucks this month. Hopefully this video airs in the month it's out. But anyway, the February issue, it's on the cover. So right now, I'm a motivated mini trucker, and we've got the Datsun sitting here. Trash is still piling up in the back. We'll see if we can get the brakes up, the clutch up, hopefully drive it over to the shop, get this crap out of it, and then we're tearing this dude down. We're gonna build one badass mini truck, and I'm excited. Yeah, let's go, let's get it. But before we get to that, let's do something fun. Not that that's not fun, but I'd say getting brakes up and a clutch up, you know, it could be considered fun. It's not my idea of fun, but cutting this dude up will be. So let's do something fun before we get into that. Let's pinstripe some stuff. That sounds like a good time to me. So we're slowly fixing up this little shop at the house where we plan to do this Datsun build and some other little things, kind of break away from the shop. I think that's a lot of fun. Everything I plan to do in here essentially is probably going to be red. We've got our drill holder and our air tool holder over there that I cut out on the plasma, designed in the CAD and cut out on the plasma. I've got those red. The cabinets come in are red. The only thing is this box right here is black. And I like this box. I've had it a long time. Nice little roll around box that I can use in here. I don't want to get rid of it, and I'm certainly not painting it red. So let's pinstripe it red. All right, so that was fun. It's fun for me. Wish I could just stripe everything in here, just keep on going. You know what I'm saying? Well, we got that finished up, so when we're actually using the box, the lid's open, looks good. And you know, keep out. You stay the hell out of my box. All right, so we've got that done. I wanted to keep going, but man, we could spend days doing that. So we need to get back onto this thing, the Datsun. I think the first thing we're gonna do, check brakes, see if we can get them up. Remember from that last video, a couple of wheel cylinders sitting down in the floorboard. So we know we got some issues, I'm sure. Now, we're gonna check and make sure everything is on the truck. We'll get it up on jack stands, make sure everything's there. You know, typically, there's a simple problem. So we're gonna start with the basics since we know we're gonna tear this sucker down, do a full build. We're probably not gonna keep much of any of this, but I do wanna get it going and driving. You know, I just wanna drive the thing. So we're gonna be simple with it. We'll probably just make sure everything's there. We might gravity bleed them, see if we get anything out of there, see what's going on. If we have to, maybe we'll blow out the lines. We'll check the master cylinder. At least we can get brakes up on it. And then we'll worry about the clutch because I can get that thing into gear. You know what I'm saying? Yank 'em and bang 'em. Can't find it, grind it. It's probably what she'll be doing. Slap it and trap it. First, before we get there, I'm gonna see if this mechanical pump will work. I've got everything, got all the lines ran, everything's good to go there. I suspect it doesn't, but I've got an electric pump over there if it doesn't. We'll give it a go. Well, it's got some really clean looking fluid in it. We're gonna end up having to break the lines, blow through them. Give it a couple of pumps, just see if it's trying to do anything. Go ahead and start just soaking everything since we're gonna pull this truck apart. Maybe save us from having to cut every bolt off of this thing. Oh, I'm surprised. Thought for sure that would be stuck. Somebody's put new tires on it, so somebody had expectations of going down the road. Guess we gotta get serious with it. Woo! So right off the bat, everything looks good. There's new shoes on here. It's a new wheel cylinder on here. All the springs look correct. Adjuster doesn't look too shabby, but I couldn't get it to move. Just why it was so hard to get that drum off. Yeah, that adjuster is locked up. We'll let it soak for a little bit before we take it apart, because I don't want to take it apart. I don't want to go that far. All right, so we've got that apart. We've established that the adjuster's locked up. Wheel cylinder looks new. Obviously that doesn't mean crap. But, you know, we've established that they've also had a problem. Now the master cylinder does not look new. I've already checked the passenger side over here. It's pretty much the same way as this side. We're getting no fluid down there. We're building no pressure. I've cracked the lines in the back. We've got nothing back there. It looks to be new wheel cylinders back there too, so okay. Getting to a point where I have not blown the lines out yet. We're gonna get to that point, but let's check the master cylinder real quick. So let's see if we can suck this fluid out of the master cylinder. Maybe we can get it over on the table, tear it apart, and see how bad she really is, because I don't know if I'm gonna use that master cylinder. So if we do end up needing one, this little bitty thing is like 300 bucks or something. Get the pin out. Hopefully we can get the pedal loose from the master cylinder. Hopefully if we get it off and we get it on the table and it's not terrible, we can rebuild it, because the rebuild kits for them really inexpensive. Right there, that's the pin. That's the return spring that's on it. Let's see if we can get that off. We should be able to get the pin out and then get onto that master. Ew. All right, so right off the bat, we got the fluid out, we got the screen out. I don't know if you can see all that rust in there, but that's not what we want. So it's probably rusted in here. It could just be blocked, so we'll start getting it apart and see what we find. Nasty shit. It is rusty. That piston in there is seized up. So there's a piston that runs along here. So when you push the pedal, you're pushing the rod, which is in turn pushing the piston, the spring, the bushing, and therefore transferring fluid, pressure, all that good stuff where you have brakes. So with this being seized up, there's a couple of different things that we could do to potentially free it up. I've sprayed some penetrating lube in there. We're going to see if that helps us any. We're going to try to get that off, and then we'll go from there and see if we can get it to move. If we can get that freed up, we've got a good chance, if it's not really corroded in the cylinder section of it. So, all right, so we've got that in the vise. We've let that soak for a little while with some penetrating lube. Will it come out? That's the question. I can see marks where somebody's already tried this. Let's give the breaker bar a chance. Oh, there we go. Not the worst thing I've ever seen, but damn, my shit. Something like that make you have to go to the gym, work out, get some muscles. Shit, that hurt. Well, it's probably impossible to see, but you see that tiny little hole down there? Well, you can see the spring. That's the spring that's in the front. And it is completely compressed. So it seized up, you know, like the pedal's pushed. So it's gonna be a bitch. All right, so when you get into this situation here, there's a couple of things you can do. We've obviously tried lubing it up, still not moving. So at that point, you can try to blow air in it, see if you can get anything to move. I've not tried that yet. Pretty sure, looking at this one, that is not going to work. But there is a cool little trick that I was taught years and years ago that you can try, and anytime I've had this, it's worked. I am iffy on this one because this one looks pretty bad, but we can either thread this back in. We can find us a grease fitting that will go into here. Once we do that, we can pump grease into it, and the pressure that we get with the grease and the grease gun forcing it through there will a lot of times push that piston out of there. We're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna see what happens. You're coming out, you son of a bitch! I've got the master cylinder in the vise. I've got the fitting ran back in, and I found a grease fitting that fits the thread of our master cylinder. I've already filled our little chamber here up with grease, and I'm just now starting to feel pressure on the grease gun. So we're gonna really throw the grease at it, and if it doesn't squirt out anywhere else, hopefully we'll move this piston. All right, I'm gonna give it a good squeeze. Oh, yeah, there it went. Yep, there it goes. Hell yeah. And that's how you free one up. Yeah! All right, so that's a really easy way to do it right there. So if you ever have one of these that's seized up on you, if you can find a fitting that will work, as far as the grease fitting goes, you can pump some grease through there, and so far, including this one, I've never had that not work. All right, so we've got the piston almost all the way out. So all we gotta do is get a couple of more pumps on it. We'll just put a pair of pliers on it and we'll pull it on out, and then we've got everything. But I kind of lied in the beginning of this video, I believe. So I did a quick search for master cylinders, looking for one for this truck, and what quickly came up were a few, and you know, they were like 300 bucks or whatever. I was like, man, if I'm changing this out, I'm not spending $300 on a master cylinder, because as I said, probably 10 times in this video, I'll get a Willwood, because that's roughly the same price, and that's what we'd like to run on it. So, as we're taking this apart and I'm looking for a rebuild kit, I call around, call a few buddies, all that, get a rebuild kit for roughly like 30 bucks. Okay, that sounds good, so we're gonna rebuild this thing. Well, then guess what? I found one. I found a bunch of them. And they're not $300. I totally lied to you. So, I got a master cylinder for about 38 bucks. You know, I knew that just didn't seem right to me, so I should have just kept looking into it, but good thing we don't have a whole lot of time in messing with that master cylinder. We'll probably still rebuild it anyway, just so we can kind of go through that process, but check that out. Brand new one for roughly, you know, 40-ish bucks. Went ahead and found the clutch master as well, so I've got one of those on the way. So at this point, why don't we just stick this on here, see if we can get some brakes? No! No, please be where I can see you. I can see you. Never happens. It's normally gone forever. So I've pulled the new master cylinder back off real quick because I thought this would probably be a little bit of an issue, but not a big deal. Our rod that hooks to the brake pedal, we've got the pin that goes through here. This is the rod that goes through the firewall, and this goes into the back of the master cylinder, which is right here. The new one is studded. So we've got adjustment there. So when I get it adjusted where I need it, we've basically got too much stud sticking out. So the stud's against the brake pedal, which is pushing the pedal off, not allowing us to get the pin through the hole. So I'm gonna cut a little bit of this stud off, and then hopefully that's gonna free up enough room for us to get that in there. I've hooked up the other line down low. When we were working on that old master cylinder, I blew out the old line, so we should be good to put some fluid in here and give it a shot. You can't build shit without cutting something, you know what I mean? Like, even if it comes to something little like this, it's like, just cut it up. Cut it up. If you cut it up, you build cool shit. You gotta cut it up, that's it. You've got to cut it up to build cool shit. And this is just a master cylinder. I'm excited to show you where she's headed though. My wife just came home, I'm probably in trouble. All right, so normally right now, I would typically bench bleed a master cylinder before I put it on, but kind of moving everything here to the shop and not realizing what I even need until I get to it at the home garage. It's like, I can't find any hose. I thought I had some hose that I could do this, but essentially we just put a fitting in the port up front. We could run that into the reservoir. We could fill that with fluid, and then we could push the rod in and out and move the piston and essentially just push that air out and recirculate that fluid. It'd be simple as that. I mean, most of the time you can get away without doing it, but it's just a pain in the butt when you get it on there. You're all hooked up, you're bleeding the brakes, you're going, and you can't figure out why you can't get a pedal. It's typically because you didn't bench bleed it. But with these, I've had pretty good luck in the past anyway with not having to, so we're gonna take that chance. And by taking that chance, that means I just jinxed it. We'll have to pull it back off and bench bleed it. Maybe not. All right, so we've got that topped off. I think I'm gonna hook the bleeder up. We'll go ahead and start seeing if we can get some fluid down to the wheel cylinders. So when you bleed your brakes, always start at the furthest point away from the master cylinder. So that's going to be the passenger rear. We'll go to the driver rear. We'll go to the passenger front, and then finish off with the driver wheel, which is closest to the master cylinder. All right, let's see what we can get. Actually, check that out. Might not have to put the bleeder on it. So I've got them all cracked open just to gravity bleed, and this one's already dripping. So once they start dripping like that, let them drip for just a little bit, and typically it's pushing all of the air out of it. And it's a good way to do it if you're by yourself and you don't have one of the air bleeders, which we got one over there, and we'll more likely still stick it on here anyway. But you can crack them open, let them go, and hey, it works pretty good. Well, we are getting fluid. It's not as much as I'd like to see, but we are getting it, so that's a good sign. So I'm gonna hop around, I'm gonna do the other three. We'll see what we get out of those. Hopefully we won't have to break anything else down. We just need to get us a decent pedal so we can give this thing a little drive down the driveway or over to the shop. And good progress though. All right, a little bit of bad news. It's not really bad news because we're about to get to some fun stuff. We got a pedal up on the Datsun. It was working really well. Brakes bled really well. Everything worked out. Hey, we learned how to get a piston out of a master cylinder. A lot of good stuff in here, but as I was pumping the pedal, went to the floor. So as I get out there, it looks like one of the wheel cylinders is also bad. Fluid's just shooting out of it. So I looked at getting a wheel cylinder so we could try to drive it. We're 2 weeks out on getting a wheel cylinder, so I'm not gonna wait on it anymore. Unfortunately, we didn't get to drive it, but we're ready to cut it up, tear it down, do the fun stuff with it. So next time you see it, that's what we're going to be doing. We've got the rendering done. We've got a lot of parts already here. So anyway, figured I'd finish this video where at least you could look at a nice miniature.